And we are officially live. So, Assalamu alaikum. Hello, everyone, to AI Summit, another online conference. Today, we are having Rayan Ibrahim Benatallah. He has a master's degree in computer vision from EST. He's also a junior AI product manager and currently an AI engineer at Z. Another night, another special topic, and a topic that I know for sure that anyone who's passionate about AI, anyone who's uh, following AI and everything has heard of agentic AI. Now, AI agents are taking the world by storm, and it's kind of like a new paradigm of doing things, and it's pretty exciting. Of like all the super brilliant applications that emerge every day. So today, with School of AI with Ryan, we will get a look into it. We will have insights of it and how we can build cool things with AI agents. So welcome, Ryan. Thank you very much for your generous participation in AI Summit. It's a pleasure and honor to have you, and also it's a great pleasure to have such topic with you that I'm certain you master, and I'm also certain that you will do brilliantly delivering this precious knowledge. So, Ahlan Ryan, and the stage is yours.
Well, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome everyone. I would like to thank School of AI, also Kamal, for this invitation. Hopefully I will meet the expectation. As Kamal said, it's a really interesting subject. Mastering, I wouldn't go into saying mastering because it's delving every day deeper AI and all around agentic AI. But again, thanks for the invitation. It will be informative and quick. Hopefully, we'll catch some stuff. I will share with you all the needed resources, and yeah, let's start. So, as you may already see, saw the hook. Today we'll be talking about AI, but the A doesn't stand for artificial. We'll be introducing agentic intelligence, which enables AI to think before it acts. My name is Rayan Ibrahim Benatallah, as Kamal introduced me. I'm an engineer at Z. At Z, we are actually using and developing multi-agent systems to actually tackle most of the critical challenges in the industrial manufacturing. Why the problematic is actually solvable by AI agent? Because we are dealing with such complex challenges that machine operators face daily. Quick example, for example, we have the technological advancements of machinery. We are dealing with such machine from China, from Taiwan, etc. Really advanced in technological wise, and there is some machine operator that actually handles them, which are, let's not say outdated, but there is a clear skill gap between the machine and the engineer. At Z, we are proposing a suite of AI agents capable of creating the collaboration between the machine operators and the machine, because basically we need our machine to be not just to run, but basically to be smart and act on their own. So yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn and you can follow me. So let's start by what is AI in the past. So when I said it's mainly what AI has been up until few months ago or a few years ago. So we've solved some one-shot intelligence. And by that, we solve some models that are task-based. So we have a single task, we have single input, the same input every time, and the same output, mainly from machine learning models and deep learning models. And they are more into reactiveness. Reactivity remains from, as we are seeing, or as we are interacting with LLMs mainly, we are seeing some fast answers, and they have like actually the answers that are more of a narrow one, they actually directly output basically the words that are of high probability for that query. And yeah, there is no reasoning behind that, there is no thinking behind that. We are just outputting the most relevant answer based on the training data. And in many sources, actually, you will see that agentic is actually the future. And one of the phrases that it's becoming to be more and more famous, the future is agentic. And it's totally right, because we'll see further on slides that we are seeing a shift from traditional, what I call traditional machine learning and agentic AI, or static AI and dynamic AI. So let's start by a simple definition of, or building a definition of AI agent as we are going. So AI agent, they are tools that think. They not just output answers, but they think. They also act. They have the capability to act with external environments, so they are not limited by the training data. So we can build on top of them some blocks, some modules that enables them to go look for the missing data, to look for missing information or required information, etc. Or also interacting with APIs, external APIs. And also learns, because AI agents enable something really interesting, which is the memory. As we are seeing with all the agentic interfaces, such as ChatGPT, Claude, DeepSeek, we are seeing more and more improvements, quotidian memory, etc., as the agents directly remembers the subject or the context you talked about few days ago, a few months ago, or even more than that. It's split into short term memory and long term memory, which is really interesting. To put it more into the image, we can see how actually these agents, they are not something really new or out of the norms. They are leveraging, they are capable of such capabilities by leveraging LLMs. They are using LLMs capabilities to understand several modalities. By modalities, we mean text, visual, and audio. LLMs they proved that they are capable of understanding the natural language of humans. And AI agent, basically, they are leveraging these LLMs to actually create and handles several workflow and systems. So you might ask the question, why using AI agent? Like, once facing a problematic or a challenge, whether you go for a traditional or static AI or dynamic agentic AI, of course, because let's say we don't see a lot of, as of now, there is not a lot of because they are really expensive. Again, they are powered by LLMs. LLMs tends to be really expensive on production. There is several alternatives for that. But you might ask the question why. There is Michigan problematics needs an agentic solution, but mainly I resumed the cause to use agentic AI into 3 points to make it clear. But of course, when delving more and more with these tools, you would find a lot of reasons. The 3 top reasons, as I said, they are: 1, handling nonlinear workflows. And by that, I mean when we are in a system that where we cannot predict the behavior of the interactions. Let me give you an example. For example, if we are talking to personal assistant in audio kind of input modality, and if we expect users to always use that assistant, audio assistant, to play music, we would build a linear workflow where the input comes, we are identifying the music being requested, and we are inputting it into a tool that actually starts the music. That would be really simple because it's linear. We always have the same workflow, we always have the same input, etc. But let's say the users, they are more into interactive sessions with these AI assistants, and every time there is something new. And instead of saying play the music of La Casa de Papel, for example, let's say play my favorite music. Here we are not in a linear workflow. We cannot define. It's not a predefined solution. As the first step would be to identify the user. Which user is talking? Is it me? Is it my brother? Is it my cousin? So the first step would be identifying the user. The second thing would be looking into the favorite list of favorite songs of that user, of that identified user, and then actually playing the top one. You see, like here we shifted from linear workflow where we have always the same input into something that needs flexibility, needs some more handling of several use cases, several actions, let's say that. The second thing would be interacted with external environments. To be able to play the music, to be able to identify user, we need some APIs, we need some machine learning models that can be used and can be called, can be initiated by these agents. And yeah, الانتراكت work مع external environments make it a huge use for agentic AI. Third thing would be, as we said earlier, enabling reasoning over reactivity. We are not just looking for outputting or printing the answer faster, but printing the right answer. There is several tools or architectures that enables reasoning models, LLMs, to reason, and we are seeing more of latency because there is no reactivity. We are not looking for the answer, as we said, but we are looking for the right answer for that query. There is several, of course, types of AI agent. As I said, there is no a lot of agents in production. We can see some standard agent, as we said earlier, which receives input and provides output. We can see some React agent, which recently becoming more and more famous and the trend topic. And React stands for reasoning, and are well instructed to reason and mimic human behavior. And by mimicking a human behavior, I mean, like us human, when we are doing something, we tend to talk to ourselves. For example, when we are like solving an issue in our car, for example, we are talking to ourselves. Let me open this. Let me look for this tool. Let me use this. Let's get the oil from this and this. You see, so reasoning traces, we call them reasoning traces, and agents, React agents, basically mimic human behavior into trace the reasoning to actually define the next action. And the last type, which is really interesting, ما كاش بزاف trends about it, but we call them ambient agents that are used in development, also in production. Ambient agents, they are to give the contrast between what we said and ambient agents. All the agents that we mentioned before or we are seeing, they are actually waiting for our input. For example, if you go to ChatGPT, ChatGPT is actually waiting for your input, your query, your question, or your basically a problem to start typing the answer, to start providing you with information. Ambient agents, they don't need you to say hey. They're actually monitoring your system 24 hours, 7 days a week. And in the background, they are running and spotting anomalies, and they got initiated on their own based on a certain event, based on a certain state of the system, etc. If we would like to compare between, let's call it static AI for now. I'm writing. I just wrote twice static AI, but this is dynamic AI. If you were to compare between static AI and dynamic AI, they both have tasks, okay? But the static AI have a single shot. So you give it an input. As we said, it's reactive. So the more an input output has a higher probability, it's just outputted. Concerning the memory, they have no memory, and they have no tools because they are unable to interact with external environments, and they are more reactive. So the reasoning part for the static AI is more basic. And when we look into the other window, dynamic AI, we have the task is actually handled into a multi-step. We have a query, which is mainly a problematic. We have our agents actually dividing it into several sub steps and handling each step separately, then outputting the final answer. So we are more into multi-step kind of problem solving. The memory, as we said, we have short and long-term memory. We have vertical memory, we have horizontal memory. Horizontal memory is on several users on multiple sessions, and vertical memory consists of maybe same conversation within the same conversation within the same day or the same context. For the tools, again, AI agents, they are mainly able to use tools to interact with external environments. For example, we have seen Query GPT, which is an agent that converts natural language into SQL kind of commands. So these type of agents have the capability to interact with external environments. Between these external environments, we would find some APIs for databases, for vector databases, for information knowledge bases, etc. So yeah, and for the reasoning, we have the reasoning which is enabling again. It's typo here, which is yes, reasoning. It's more advanced. We are looping the output several times to ensure it is the right answer, or at least we are converging into the right answer. And one of the topic we would be seeing is the optimal conversion. How many steps, how many loops the agents needs to make to actually converge faster and in more optimal way into the right answer or the right path. Let's see or recapitulate what we've said so far into a single title, which is the core ingredients of Agentic AI. The first thing, as we said, they are powered by LLM. The first thing we would need an LLM to use, again, the capability to understand multimodalities, text, audio, pictures, videos, etc. The second thing would be instructions. And for that, we are more delving into prompt engineering. These LLMs, these agents actually need a clear set of instructions, clear set of rules, clear set of examples to actually converge or to actually behave more and more as we are expecting them to behave. A good, well-structured and tailored instruction would make your agent actually more capable into providing the right answers. The third component, of course, they are the tools. Tools, we have, as we said, some API calls, and we have some function use. Let me put that in really simple image. As programmers, we've always, into system, when building system, we've always called some functions, depending on the use case we are trying to handle, depending on the if we are on. And the same thing, we would define a function that takes as input strings, only strings, and outputs only strings again. We decorate it with a tool to make the agent know that, voila, you have this tool and this tool, depending on the query or on the problematic we are on, and how the agent would know when and how to use this tool. We would need actually the most critical part, which is the docstrings. Docstrings of the function. In no agentic workflows, we tend to ignore them as we are just developing, especially when we are developing alone. So yeah, on a collaborative project, yes, we would use docstring to make the collaboration more seamless. But in agentic workflow, docstring are actually mandatory within a function. Each function, you would define the docstring, a clear description what this tool or function does, what are the arguments, what are the outputs expected. The fourth and the final component is the memory. As we said, we would find several memory utilization, memory management, from storing the conversations into SQL databases, scoring the summaries of conversations, retrieving the right context from past conversations. Let me just quick delve rapidly here, as I tried to define a tree before of actually كيفاش اخترقنا ال AI agents. So we've seen AI, which is machine learning and some algorithms, Peronian search, etc. For machine learning, of course, there is supervised deep learning. Generative AI came from the deep learning branch. I will be sharing with you the link. We saw some diffusion models, some GANs, VIs, etc. LLMs, VLMs, multimodal LLMs. And to interact, as we said, with these tools, we would need instructions, a clear set of instructions. We call them prompt engineering. We have several types of prompting, and each type actually depends on the use case, depends on basically the use case you are on, or at what level you would need your agent or LLM to behave. We would see some zero-shot prompting, few shots. You can, Paula Suite, read some points I put into each of the types. The most interesting one, when we are talking about agentic AI, we would find these last three. As we call them chain of thoughts. The first one, it's you give it a reasoning path to follow. We have a path like, when you find this, do this. When you find this, do this, then this, then this, then this. Actually, it's a reasoning path, step by step, kind of problem solving within the prompt. The second thing would be self-consistency chain of thoughts, which is the same thing as chain of thought, but we have several paths. Instead of a single path to follow, we would find several paths to tackle the problem from several angles, in case one path or another doesn't give us what we need, or finds ourselves into a blocking point. And the last type would be the React prompting, which is mainly given several reasoning paths to follow, and also some tools to interact with several external environments. And from that, LLMs, we've seen compound, what we call it, compound system AI, because we are actually using both AI and our existing systems to make a more of agentic workflow, non-linear workflow. We've seen RAG, augmented retrieval augmented generation, which is mainly used when we are more and more needing the external knowledge from our domain that we are operating in. For example, when we are using GPT-4 or Sonnet 3.5 or 7, they are limited by data they trained on. So when you ask basically something that happened within certain environments or certain domain that happened just 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago, it wouldn't answer. Of course, ChatGPT now can make some tool calling, some function calls, some APIs to scrap the web. But if we use the LLM, like API calls, as it is stateless, it wouldn't able to answer that because it's not on the training data. And we use RAG justement to surpass that when we are on the need of using external knowledge. And so we would have some databases that we can access to retrieve relevant information to the query. And of course, we met a agent where we would find some linear agents, static ones, and some non-linear agents, as of React agents, ambient agents, and multi-agent systems. More and more multi-agent systems, they are becoming the go-to to tackle the most complex challenges. Let's say if we have several problems within the same domain or context, we would rather create small sub-specialized agents. We call them supervised agents. Each one is actually specialized in a certain and two, maximum 3 tasks of that use case, and we would have the main agent, which plays the role of an orchestrator. We'd have an orchestration system where when we receive a query, the main agent identifies which is the most suitable agent to handle that query, and we would basically route it toward that agent, and that agent, supervised agent, would handle it and operate with what he actually instructions, tools, and also memory. So yeah, I wanted just to go quick over that. I will share with you guys the link for this later on. Let's get back here. So if we would see some, we're almost finished. We would see some real-world application. We have some chatbots, as we've seen DeepSeek, OpenAI, ChatGPT, and let's make something clear to make you better understand the difference between LLMs as they are and agents. The better example would be ChatGPT is actually an agent powered by an engine, which is GPT, the architecture. You see, the pre-trained model. The interface that we are interacting with ChatGPT can ندخل endpoint تاعهم. We're actually interacting with an agentic UI. It uses the architecture, which is GPT-4, GPT-4o, or lately GPT-4 4.5. But there is some layers on top, such as searching the web, reading PDFs, pictures, etc. There is some layers on top. That's what make ChatGPT more of an agent powered by the architecture, which is GPT, which is pre-trained model. We see also Anthropic is Claude, Google is Gemini, and we would also find some personal assistants. IBM is Watson X, Cursor, which doing a lot of noise lately. And if I already have a post on my LinkedIn to actually talk more about coding and software engineering agents. They are more, when we talk about assistants, they are more into collaborating with the human. We have always the human in the loop. We have seen when using Cursor, we always have to accept the bunch of code or blocks it is adding. So it's always the human in the loop. It's more of an assistant kind of interacting with the users. Which makes it an end of our talk here. Thank you for your attention again. And I don't know if there is a Q&A session, but I would be happy to answer any of them.
Okay, thank you very much, Rayan, for your informative session. It's been super enlightening, especially like the very special topic. It's agentic AI. Everyone is talking about agentic AI, but we hope like the whole community gets like some of detailed grasp into it with you. Get some like also a clarification for some that takes it as a buzzword, but like we see actually that especially like with the tree of AI that you showed, it clearly shows like like the need for it and also like the progress towards it, as we went from like classical algorithms to define intelligence up to like this agentic workflow of large language models. And we can follow up directly to the questions from the chat. The first question comes from Rehan. It says, I'm using LLM agent to build an AI tool for database normalization. I would like to make its behavior deterministic so that it always returns the same best result given the same input. How can I achieve this?
Yeah, actually, again, it depends on your function definition and also instruction. You can define clear few shots example within the instruction to actually give some hints. I don't know if you have always the same adopted, the same output, but on your instruction, you could define some few shots to actually guide agent into evaluating on its own whether it is what's needed or not.
All right, thank you very much. The next question comes from Wael, and it says, is it safe to provide LLMs with different tools and external APIs and just let them in the wild? For instance, providing access to users' database.
Yeah, actually, your database would mainly have some rules, mainly have some privileges, mainly have some conditions. So again, your function depends on your function again, your function definition, and also the conversion from the natural language. We're talking about query GPT here, right? Different tools.
I believe it's like a general question of like giving the access
Okay.
to them to execute some SQL queries and everything.
Yes, sure. Again, it depends on your privileges. There is, of course, there is some prohibited commands that you wouldn't directly execute within your database. Again, we are talking about human in the loop when there is some dangerous kind of or critical comments, which includes the user database. We would need a human in the loop to actually approve or disapprove that comments. When dealing with database might be really tricky and really like confusing, and also susceptible into many let's say ثغرات كما يقولوا. And yeah, so it depends on your privileges, your rules defined on your databases, and actually your human in the loop kind of handling.
All right. The next question comes from me personally. As someone who works and also like to follow the progress of LLM's applications, like we started mainly with some zero shot thing. You give it a prompt, gets an answer. Then we figured out we can give few shots, kind of like to illustrate like the examples and everything. Then we went to chain of thought, kind of like keeping the LLM think, and now RAG and now agentic as well. And the interesting question that I have is regarding prompt engineering, as I believe, like from the first days of LLMs, we kind of been like it kind of like feels like we say prompt engineering, and it kind of like feels simple for people that do not interact with it. But when you get into, for example, specific scenarios, when you get into specific applications, and also when like the accuracy of the task is super sensitive and super crucial, prompt engineering becomes a real thing when you need to kind of like guide the LM very clearly towards it. The question is, does enabling reasoning and getting the LLM to reason and think about the task and everything kind of like makes it less of a burden for a developer to engineer the prompt?
Yeah, actually, we've seen it's actually a really good question because it pop up some bad memories when first days using or developing AI agents. As you said, it seemed simple to simply task the agents or the LLM, and you would expect to output the right expectations. But actually, in fact, no. They are sensitive. LLMs are prompt sensitive, so a slight change of wording, slight change of ordering of instruction would actually really affect the answer. And to answer directly your question about enabling the reasoning would en quelque sorte surpasse le hard time dealing with prompt engineering. We've seen some frameworks actually as Agno lately developing some thinking tool which goes as the same list of tools you already providing the LLM, but you simply task it into using the thinking tool first. Uh, this thinking tool enables into, as we said, dividing the task into multi-step task. Even on simple problem solving kind of theoretical aspects, we tend more into arriving into the right answer when we are subsequentially dividing the problem. And but to directly surpass prompt engineering, we didn't say that because you'd always need to actually define a clear set of rules. And yeah, thinking tools or reasoning kind of aspect might make it more easier, of course, but it needs to be always there. I saw one interesting question here. Ambient engine are present main drawback which is cost. Yeah, actually, you are right. They are running 24 hours, but when we think of it, there is just some modules that are running 24 hours. It's not necessarily the agent on itself. For example, if we are developing an agent, for example, at Z, we are developing agents, as we said, that deals with machinery and industrial kind of operations. Of course, when we say industrial, we have some maintenance, and when we say maintenance in the field of AI, we directly highlight preventive maintenance. So if you would make the image, we would have a machine learning model or a module that actually detects anomalies within the sensor's data and flags or sends a signal to the LLM to wake him up. You see, so the LLM is there, it's not active, but the module of detecting the anomaly is actually active, and it sends an event. So the agent here is actually always listening to a certain event, which have the state of the current system, and gets initiated if the event comes. You see, so we would have the LLM or the agent in place on the system. It's not necessarily, as we said, running 24 hours, but it needs to keep a lesson on the event is waiting for.
All right, thank you. Another question or kind of like thing I went by recently is LLM personalities. As we are seeing now, there are lots of providers: OpenAI, Mistral, Claude. We have
Yes.
in Gemini, DeepSeek, everything, and we kind of like, and it's one of like the fun to do applications I tried is I made try to kind of like make a podcast where LLM kind of like talk to each other,
Yes.
it was really like interesting to see that LLMs actually have some personalities, like depending on the provider. Some LLMs
Yeah.
are kind of like pragmatic, some ones are a little bit flexible and everything. How was your experience with that? Especially that I believe it's a critical decision to decide which LLM to serve. For example, in a multi-agent system, to which LLM to use in which context.
Yes. Actually, personally, I follow the benchmarks.
Mhm.
Are For example, in my previous project, as I said, on my LinkedIn posts, I worked on development software engineering agents, who are more dealing on coding tasks. And based on the benchmarks, we found that Claude is more. Hello, hello,
I believe you've been cut a little bit.
hello, hello. Do you hear me?
Yes, you were speaking
I'm
about
back. I'm back.
LLM for your coding context application.
Exactly, exactly. So, for example, for a coding task, uh, we've seen from benchmark that Claude was the best go-to uh, for coding tasks. Uh, when we are talking about other tasks, such as I don't know, tool using or reasoning, we'd find some more advanced LLMs, reasoning LLMs, or other architectures. So it depends really on your kind of insights based on the benchmarks they are published publicly, and we mainly go through an evaluation kind of phase where we have some benchmarks we develop because in our example outside we are dealing on manufacturing industry. We don't really have a benchmark for that. We just have engineers that kept dealing with those machines. We have their reasoning, their feedbacks. We mainly gather those feedbacks, that gather some those insights. We make a benchmark, and we would test several LLMs on that, and we would see basically which one is more convention into the expected behavior and output. To get back into your project, actually, I've been thinking about that because it's kind of dangerous what we are experiencing right now. We are seeing ChatGPT, Claude playing some roles, making it more friendly with you. Few years ago, ChatGPT was formal, too formal, and now it's talking to you like it's your friend. It's your, you see, using your name, playing with your sympathy, etc. And here, just me thinking out loud because when we are delving into this kind of part, we are seeing that LLMs are keeping some kind of information that are not willing to share with us. Let me give you an example. Like our generation, we are able to browse the net looking into some truths, some information. Uh, you see that. So we are aware. We are not ignorant. But as we said, the future is agentic. In the future, we wouldn't uh, actually need browsers. We'd find some agents here to ask your questions. They do the search. So here a question, لهنا, the truth would be kept by them. You see, for the people that are will be just using these tools اللي ما كانوش la génération تاعنا. When we have browsers, we kinda aware of the information. When we ask a question about Gaza, for example, it can simply have the control over the answer. It can simply change the truth, change the information, and yeah, they are more and more in control of this kind of stuff, and which, in my opinion, would be a really dangerous path.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, after all, like, especially we, like the AI people, engineers, students, and everything, we should be like the more ones that like do not like blindly trust the output and everything, because we know the reason behind it, we know how it works and everything, and we kind of like need to keep our human touch to our tasks. Regarding that, especially like the memory part, it I recall like for me, like for example, while using ChatGPT, I disable like the memory feature, because kind of like I use it, for example, for some coding tasks, from writing, brainstorming, everything. So I always want like the output to be as much unbiased as possible. But I was really amazed by some people, but by their ChatGPT, it was like fully customized. It has a personality. It has a talking style. So, so it was really amazing for me, like to see how it shifts, because they keep their like memory. They keep their memory feature active, and it kind of like keeps adjusting to their personality. So
Yeah, of course. Actually, look, many companies that are using these tools, and each company is customizing it to be more and more like an employee carrément في l'entreprise هذيك. You would have, when you list, there is no personal interaction with that tool, only work wise inputs. So you are actually shaping the tool. The more you go, the more it's like your colleague في الكومباني اللي راك فيها. It actually knows basically everything, and it's useful for businesses, for yeah.
all right, we do have some additional questions.
Yeah.
Mohammed is saying, I think anthropic agents were based on screenshots, which is nice, but agentic behavior and SQL queries and RAGs. So, can agentic LLMs extend to simple robotics or the 3D world, like the Tesla Optimus robots for home tasks? And also, like, this is kind of like also interesting from like a prior conversation of like, what did we imagine AI at first? Like, I believe like
Oops, وقل رحت
I
كمان.
believe my camera is down, but okay.
You are here. Go ahead.
Yeah. So from a previous conversation, like if we recall, maybe as we were kids, or like from our the elder people perspective of what would AI look like, as we are seeing now, like AI is more of like LLMs and everything, but we kind of like the idea of AI, like for general people, is more related to robotics, robots that move, that do things and everything. So how does like this thing, LLMs or agents, can then maybe guide or fuel like the robotics era?
Yeah. Actually, I don't know if you've seen, guys, the keynote GTC NVIDIA, where Jensen Huang took basically his conference. He showed a really interesting kind of graph where we have seen the generative AI evolving to be agentic AI, what we are seeing now, evolving to be physical AI. So yeah, Physical AI is more much in the expectation what we were expecting several years ago, where we have robots, car, etc. Now we are shifting from enabling systems to interact with external tools into interacting with physical environments. It's not a digital environment anymore, but a physical environment. And we are shifting again from agentic AI into physical AI, where we are seeing some robots, some robots to NVIDIA. Actually, within the HQ to NVIDIA, there is some robots that does some kind of tasks. So yeah, this is the shift. So from agentic AI directly to physical AI, where we are enabling them to interact with physical environment instead of just the digital one.
All right, thank you. We have the next question that says, in few shot learning, what's the best way to structure prompts to avoid hallucinations while ensuring accurate results?
Yeah, in few shots, learning is actually limited. We can read rapidement. It's easy to give some examples. If you have a clear set of rules, one points where you clearly define the instruction, but it keeps getting limited into the complex reasoning where it needs to actually have the reasoning slide. And to get the most out of it, I would say to make your examples not only input but also output. Have our
All right.
I the رحت out too late.
Okay. Can you hear me clearly now?
Yes, Lucas.
Okay, perfect. The next question says, are there open source agentic AI models that can be trained to bypass company policy restrictions for specific tasks?
Seeing it. What was the question?
Are there open source agentic AI models that can be trained to bypass company policy restrictions for specific tasks?
I bon معلش إذا ما فهمتش لا question ولا open source agentic AI model. Déjà open source agentic AI model um, it can be trained to bypass company policy restriction for specific task. I have no idea about that. I have no idea about that because, for example, if we take as an example chain, NVIDIA, they are developing some agents, but they are internal agents that helps either the employees or customer support. They are not open source for everyone. So yeah.
All right.
Whether you can bypass the restriction or I have no idea.
All right. We have.
Is it better to use?
Okay. Yeah, that's a question.
Is it better to use fine-tune open source and manage the closed one, given the advantage of having more control over it? Yeah, of course, actually, as I said, there is no much of or more agents in production because they can be really expensive. We are not talking about single input. We are talking about loops and feedback loops. So the ideal thing to do is actually to fine-tune a smaller model, open sourced one, and fine-tune it into a specific task, and add in some RAGs kind of infrastructures to benefit also from the external environments, which would result mainly in the same output, maybe even better, of course, in certain use cases than using not the pre-trained one.
All right. Maybe I will have maybe two final questions. The first
Okay.
one, like a practical one, like we've talked about AI agents and everything, but like while developing AI agents, you mentioned one of the frameworks, Agno, but is
Yes.
there like general like frameworks or general like system design to it, or like to practically develop such agents? What are kind of like the guides towards it?
Yeah, actually, personally, I started with LangChain. Uh, I spent a huge period developing with LangChain, but lately we are seeing more and more companies launching their tools to actually directly uh, development and building agents, because building agents should be easier, and it's becoming now. They have, of course, certain system design with we need clearly to define the modules, uh, the instructions, the memory, etc. There is several frameworks to that makes it actually easy, because now we are dealing more into developing the the workflow, thinking about the workflow instead of coding it. We've seen Agno, which makes it really easy to develop agents. We've seen Pydantic AI. We've seen some native frameworks such as OpenAI SDK, Google ADK, Agent Development Kits. Yeah, they are simply import the class of the agent. You give it your tools, your instructions, your LLM you wanna use it. I will share with you another thing, Kamal, if you can share it with them. Uh, it's basically a GitHub repo where I kind of explored a small set of frameworks with, let's say, basic system design for it to make it more digestible. So yeah, the better or the best practice is actually to crowd, I would say, some production agents. كاين LinkedIn عندهم بزاف des agents qui sont en production, la même ils sont en train de partager des GitHub repo تاع quelques community kind of developments, and you can get inspired by that.
All right.
Voilà.
The second question mainly deals with the evaluation, because like we know we design a workflow, we design a use case, we brainstorm a solution for it, we go for the agentic, but how to say that our agent is doing well? Because like if you see it like on from top of it, you kind of like it's kind of like subjective, because you deal with as a user, you ask for something and there is lots going on in the background, the agent is reasoning, is using tools and everything, and then it's coming up with a result, and it becomes also like difficult to pinpoint maybe the failing elements, to pinpoint what is working, what's not. How do you usually deal with the evaluation? We know that LLM's evaluation itself is complicated, but now, as we are making it more complex, how do you deal with the agentic workflow evaluation?
Actually, it's a good question, and it's an interesting point because as we said, كنت سامع فيها.
Yes. Did I get to finish the whole question?
الو انا عاودت وليت نورمالمون.
Did you get my question, or I shall repeat it maybe for the live in case
لا
everyone... Okay,
سمعتها
perfect. Okay.
super. It's an interesting point because these are sorry for internet
I
today.
guess you were interrupted again.
Do you hear me, guys?
Yes, I can hear you personally. It's cutting a little bit. Can you try again?
I would just stop the comment maybe to make it better.
Okay, we'll wait for Ryan to rejoin. Hello
الو
again.
الو كمال معك تسمع فيها.
Yes,
I'm sorry, actually the internet is عندي ضعيف اليوم.
it's okay. The knowledge is that matters, and we keep going for it.
I was saying, like, it's a really interesting question and an interesting point, actually, because as you said, evaluating digital LLM is already complex. So to evaluate an agentic workflow makes it more complex. But here we are dealing with several, let's say, components. We have the first one is the answer generation from the LLM, which can be evaluated وحدها. Basically spotting hallucinations or deviating from the context, etc. The second thing, when we are using RAG systems, we are evaluating the retrieval. So how, at what point the retrieval is accurate and we are retrieving relevant information. The third thing would be the use of these retrieved information, so which makes it context. Is the LLM using the context or not? And by that, we are actually, personally, what I do is like I automate the pipeline, and I actually start playing with the components. For example, if I used a certain VDB, pinecone or quadrant, I would evaluate with it and see the final answer. So the ground truth. I would evaluate the end-to-end pipeline, and then I would start removing and replacing components and see how it would affect the final output. For example, if I was using cosine similarity and I have accuracy of let's say 75, and I replaced that by Euclidean distance, and I just saw that the accuracy dropped or went up, I would see that this component is getting better or worse. And let's move to the other components. If I decide on a single component, تاع خلاص c'est bon, the cosine similarity is getting me the peak accuracy. Okay, let's move to the retrieval. Let's move to another VDB. Let's move to another LLM, and let's see how it would affect the final output. Basically, evaluating your benchmarks. So you have a bunch of questions, 100 questions, 200 questions, up to 500 questions. Depends on it. Either it's synthetically generated or you built it yourself. So yeah, it's mainly playing with the several components and see how it would affect the final output.
All right, so generally like one component at a time.
Exactly, and see how it fits within the complete suite or the complete pipeline.
All right. Uh, like I do have like another idea, like based on like in the applications, what are kind of like the use cases that AI agents like really do well? We can see that like coding, we see lots of like coding assistants right now that are like kind of like performant to kind of like scratch some MVPs or simple websites and everything. I wonder like if there are some context or themes that AI agents really worked well, maybe in education or healthcare or customer support or anything you are aware of? Like, is there some pattern to specific use cases that AI agents really did well?
Yes, of course. The last point you mentioned, actually, which is the customer support. Huawei, in the first place, is using NA agents for the customer support that actually answers the phone calls and provide informations basically for the customers. And they kind of replaced huge numbers of employees, which they usually answer those calls, and they prove themselves useful because mainly they are using the external information or the internal information of the company, trying to address customers queries. So yeah, in the first place, customer support definitely, and the second place is actually
I believe you were cut.
assistance. For example, in onboarding data phase in the companies or industries, instead
Mhm.
of booking an employee or senior uh, for that new recruit, we would have an agent booking some sessions for that employee and working it through all the necessities and the needed information it needs to start actually the job.
Perfect. All right. I believe it was like a great session. Thank you very much again, Ryan. It was super insightful, and also it was like a very interesting discussion. Like we kind of had the presentation part. We kind of had an ongoing discussion with our participants, with my questions as well, and it's been like super enlightening. Uh,
Okay.
we really appreciate your participation here with us and especially taking on this trendy subject. For our audience, we apologize for the technical issues. I had my camera down, we had some internet issues, but I believe that the whole content will be super helpful for everyone and it will be a reference in the future, inshallah, for everyone to get like an insight about agentic AI before getting into the field. I believe also Ryan can share like on the live after we end it. You can share some resources for the participants, where to start in, some frameworks, links, and everything. So you can always refer to the live on YouTube and get some resources in the comment section. And yeah, you can have also a word, Ryan, to conclude to School of AI and also for the community that's participating.
Of course, of course. Again, I would like to thank you, Kamal. Thanks for School of AI. It's really an interesting initiative, actually. The best way is actually to gather information is actually asking questions, and uh, instead of actually looking or browsing the net for several hours or several days, the most optimal way is actually asking questions or being in a session when you can simply interact with someone that knows a little bit more than you, which makes it quicker. And for you, it's like a headache that you don't need to deal with. There is several people that dealt with LLMs, making them more and more uh, interpreting the thing. We don't have to go through that again because basically the research or the results are here. And these kind of initiatives you are actually where you are sitting for 30 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, and yeah, you got basically all what you need to start your journey. You may be choosing the path or not. En tous les cas, c'est vraiment intéressant, Agentic AI. I would recommend everyone. And yeah, it's a pleasure again, Kamal. Thank you again, and we shall meet again. It's not. I think it wouldn't be the last the last time.
Of course.
Inshallah,
Inshallah.
inshallah.
Also, yeah, like to also recap on your side, like that's the whole purpose of AI Summit. We bring brilliant people, we bring interesting subjects for everyone to explore and maybe get a glimpse of like because now AI is kind of like really rich. It's really diversified. So kind of like we have people delving like deeply in some niche topics. So kind of AI summits is the chance when we get like we take a look back and look into different aspects and different applications of AI and some research topics, so people can also get like an insight of what are other people are doing.
Of course, yes.
Okay, so
Yes,
yeah, good night, everyone, and we shall meet, inshallah, in our next AI conference. And until then, enjoy your time and see you again.
inshallah. Thank you, guys. Out.